Oh wow!
Chairman,
There's very sad. Okay. Right there. Is this podium right in front of the wall? Oh, exactly. That was my stuff trying to get it.
we're live. Okay, are we recording? Projection, psychology, the attribution of one's own ideas, feelings, or attitudes to other people or to objects, especially the externalization of blame, guilt, or responsibility as a defense against anxiety. For example, when I point a finger at you, 3 fingers are pointing back at me. This is called past present projector. There he goes again, the defensive little man, pretending big offensive once again. Actually, a worldwide embarrassment to most of us Americans. Pretending to be smart, pretending to have courage, pretending he never went bankrupt 5 times, ignoring he was impeached twice, ignoring he was convicted by his peers in the Big Apple of 34 fraud felonies. One of his perps kept parroting he was a self-made poobah, omitting the real truth. No, he's only a self-made pirate who walks his own plank. Born with an immense silver spoon in his mouth, don't you wish your father handed you $400 million to start your own business? He keeps saying mainstream news is fake. News, fake news, fake news. Because he's projecting that any news of his is fake. And we finally found out how we can tell he's lying. His mouth moves. You know, there's pictures of him with the porn star he said he never met. His court cases about the election being stolen failed because the election was not stolen, though he did attempt to hijack. There should be a picture of him on the wall of your post office. Oh, and when his hands continually move when he's lying, he's projecting how big or small his lies are. Hands close together like he's squeezing cheeseburgers or squeezing small Latino children into cages at the border. These are both examples of a small lie. Hands spread wide apart, that's one of his big whoppers. Like he didn't lose the election by millions of votes, or that his opponent is not qualified to serve as our president. That might be the biggest projection of them all to call. You see, she has a record of service to our nation. He has a pimp's rap sheet. His mother knew he was not qualified to serve as the president of anything. When she was asked that question, she answered, no, not him. He has no social graces. So why do you who are undecided, why do you who stay in cult insist that his projections are facts? If he could bankrupt 5 businesses, can't you see? He will bankrupt you too. He already said he doesn't care about you. He only cares about your vote. Let's all of us in our nation be e pluribus unum, out of many one. All of us vote for his opponent. She only projects policies for the people. She only projects social graces. She only projects steel, fairness, grace. She will watch his avoidance dance around a debate and be ready to pounce if he doesn't cut and run. She's the adult in the room, being patient as she waits for what most of us want for him. Poetic justice. I say lock, you say him up. Lock, 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 lock. Oh, that feels good. So we say to you, Agent Orange, we say to you, dubious Caesar, we say to you, Count Flatulence, stay out of Arlington. You and your 5 phony deferments from military service during Vietnam, stay out of Arlington. You have not earned the right to be there, Jody. Jody with no social graces. If you say veterans and suckers are losers, you are Jody disgrace. We the people hold the keys to the White House. We hold the keys to the White House door tightly in our fists, and you can't have them ever. That's how we'll vote. Welcome to Speaking Our Truth number 4. Thank you for coming.
Thank you, Jim.
I want to shout out to our Zoom master, Albert Williams, who's also one of our poets. Give him some love. Pilar Rodriguez Aranda, who came from Tijuana. Please give her some love. Chris Benoit, give him some love. Michael Turner Ortega, give him some love. Joe Malash, give him some love. Deborah Ramos, give her some love. Dolores Fisher, give her some love, although she doesn't want that recognition. And our special guest today, Gloria Verdú, is going to also do a short talk after I'm finished. Online, we have Julio Cesar Aguilar. Julio, thanks for joining from Baylor University. Glad you're here. And anybody else on there? Is it just him?
Hey, Jim.
Oh, John. And who?
Hey, Jim.
John Fox is on here. And my mentor, the reason I'm standing here with any idea about poetry, John Fox is with us from the Poetic Medicine Institute. Welcome, John.
Hey.
Glad you can make it. So we are dedicating this to Kamala and Tim. And on this side of the podium are my merchandises for sale. And any sales that we do between now and next Saturday goes to the Kamala Victory Fund. I've already donated $140, and $100 of that was from an anonymous poet who gave me a $100 bill, and I sent that in. So if you're listening to this on Zoom or you're in here, please help her out and do some donations by buying some merchandise before you go. The only exception to that is the book Intifada, which is Steve Cowett's book. And the proceeds for that go to some Palestinian students that are here in our country. And Steve Cowett's widow said she wanted those to be by donation to those Palestinian students to help them out. And then Pilar, could you hold your hand up? She has some of her books, and those proceeds will go for her. She's a poet who's supporting herself. So I'm doing what I'm doing, and everybody else is doing what they're doing. And that's the way we do it in democracy, isn't it? Yes, sir. So some voter education real quick. What you got in the mail was this. I'm showing the San Diego vote.com. And what this says to you is that you can do your mail-in vote, or you can go to the polls and vote. If you do a mail-in vote, there's drop boxes you can go to and not do the regular mail. This is all in the mail to you. Everyone got one of these. Now, some people like to go to the polls to vote, but if you are gonna do the mail-in vote on the front of your envelope, that's fine, that's addressed to it, but on the back, if you don't sign it and date it, your vote will not count. So you gotta sign and date your mail-in envelope, right? Don't forget that. Also, you also got this on maybe your front door. And this is telling you that the last time you can register to vote is October 21st. This is telling you that you can vote by mail or the regular mail or the drop boxes that are in most of our city libraries. And that's pretty much all you need to do. And we have a hand up.
Yeah. My name is Elizabeth. I just want to ask Elizabeth.
Hold up.
My name is just some real quick things. So you can vote literally. If you're not registered, you can register in California up until November 5th, which is the last day to vote. So don't pay attention to that's the last day you can register. The only thing that means is that they have enough time to send you your ballot. But if you just want to vote, you can literally go into the register of voters or any of the voting centers. They're all listed on sdvote.com, sdvote.com, that's the register of voters. Just go into any of those, you can register and vote at the same time. So I just don't want people to be intimidated or confused about the fact that you can vote up until November 5th at 7 p.m. or 8 p.m. I forgot what, but 8 p.m. So that, and also you can vote at the voting center or at the register of voters at any time. You can do the register of voters right now. The voting centers will be open 11 days before the election, most of them, and a few of them will be added for the 4 days before the election. Thanks.
Chris Vinoy's got something to say to us.
Just one other thing, when you're signing your envelope, sign it like the signature is on your driver's license. That's what they check, the signature on your driver's license.
And if you have 15 kids, oh, look who's out here. We got some old friends here. Yeah, Joe's really glad you're here too. All right, so we have, if you don't register to vote, you can ask at the polls, you can ask for a provisional ballot. They have to give you a provisional ballot if you didn't register to vote. So we really want to be there for Kamala and for Tim and for the people that are going to be for the people. So thank you all for coming. And this is being recorded right now. And so we really want to acknowledge Alfred, who's going to, after it's all said and done today, he's going to save it and he'll put it on the internet, and we can have more of an audience for these people that we hope get elected, because we're not going to turn back. We're going to go forward.
Yes.
Public Citizens, citizens.org, the League of Women Voters, LWV.org, commoncause.org, Vote Smart, Facts for All, the San Diego Voice and Viewpoint, the Reader, the second page of the Reader under the radar, and Indian Voices at indianvoices.net are some of the resources you can go when you're doing research on some of the propositions, so you can be informed and not guess. And so we're not going to tell you how to vote. These are places you can get resources, so you can be informed about what they're trying to either fool us with or help us with. All right. I think I've done my job. That's all the stuff. If you need to use the restroom, it's right over there. please avail yourself to the cafe because Makeda, who made this place, beautiful place happen, she went to Africa when she was a young woman, and all of the recipes that you're experiencing today, she either learned in Africa, South America, Central America, etc. And so we thank Makeda for letting us come here today to be part of the World Beach Center. Gloria Verdue has been my friend since her daughter was 12, and her daughter's a grown woman now with a 19-year-old. She was doing research on a lot of the negativity that was happening in the Middle East. Some of our planes were bombing things like baby milk factories and saying it was ammunition places. And I thought she was lying. I had not heard of that. The mass media wasn't reporting that. So I did some research. I went, wow, this lady is a researcher. She tells the truth. And she's going to talk to you now for about 5 minutes about why it's really important for young people to register to vote and vote. This is Gloria Verdue.
Hey, everybody, it's good to see everybody. Can you hear me? Because I have a little bit of problem hearing Jim. You can't hear me? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Use my big voice? Yes, so yeah, well, currently I am with the San Diego Committee to free Mumia Abu Jamal and all political prisoners. And I'm also, against mass incarceration. I'm a journalist or a writer for online publication, Struggle the Lucha. You can check that out online. And I just want to have a few, looking around and looking for young people. But you know what? It's on Zoom, so there's a possibility that, the youth will hear this. But I'm just going to say, Kamala Harris, the current vice president, and she was the California senator, attorney general, and San Francisco district attorney. Harris sought the Democratic presidential nomination in 2020 and dropped out before the primaries. President Obama's vice president, Joe Biden, selected her as his running mate in the 2020 election, making Harris the first female vice president of the United States. On July 21st, President Biden dropped out of the 2024 race, choosing Kamala Harris to replace him as the 2024 Democratic presidential candidate just 4 weeks before the Democratic National Convention. Biden said Harris is experienced, tough, and capable of plotting the course for the United States of America. The real question is whether the course that Harris and the Democratic Party is taking is a path to a better world and better future for all people. Vice President Harris, a Black woman, colorful, smart, and capable, is probably the next president of the United States. She is certain to win in California. What is Harris's platform? What is her vision for a better world for poor and working class people who make up the U.S. civilian and prison population? What is Harris's position on global war, violence at home and abroad, criminal justice, homelessness, immigration, climate change, medical care, reparations, education, livable wages, and so on and so on? On July 24th, tens of thousands of protesters went to D.C. to show their support for the people of Palestine, to rally for a ceasefire, and to express their feelings of betrayal over Netanyahu's visit to D.C. A protester asked, why both parties in the U.S. Congress invited Netanyahu, who is causing genocide in Gaza, to speak? Protesters were pepper sprayed and arrested. Kamala Harris, in a statement, condemned the protest and said that the protests were despicable, unpatriotic, and hate-fueled. An observer says all the fear-mongering around anti-Semitism is pretty wild because there were more Jews at this demonstration than I've ever seen. So many Jews wearing T-shirts with Jewish Force for Peace and Jews for Ceasefire, which was pretty amazing. When Harris becomes the 47th president of the United States, she will make history as a woman of color that however, won't change who rules. In the 2020 election, about 60% of people voted, often feeling they only had two options. It seems that no matter who you pick, the other choice is being much worse, whether you are a Republican or a Democrat. In the 2016, Hillary Clinton received approximately 65 million votes nationwide, while Donald Trump received about 63 million votes. Clinton won the popular vote by 2.8 million. Despite losing the popular vote, Donald Trump won the presidency by securing a majority of the electoral college votes. Okay, so the electoral college has overturned 33% of presidential elections in this century, from the 2016 Clinton-Trump election to the 2004 Bush election, in which Al Gore won the popular vote, but George W. Bush won the electoral college. So isn't it time for us to abolish the electoral college? On the Voice of Viewpoint, on their editorial page, October 10th issue, Reverend Dr. John Morton, I don't have that paper here, it's around here. He quotes Dr. Martin Luther King, who in 1957 laid out the importance of us, Black people, having the right to vote. Dr. Warren ends by saying it's in our hands now. It's in our hands now that all the people and the propositions on our ballots, what will you do? Voice of Viewpoint also lists the propositions and ballot measures with recommendations in the October 10th issue. Voting is like expressing what you want. If all the masses of poor and oppressed people find a way to vote their conscience, values, and beliefs, I really believe that change will come, especially when it comes to local propositions. There are alternatives to the Republican, Democrat, and the Democratic parties. Check out some of those alternatives on your ballot. And also on your ballot, it's a space at the bottom where you can write in a candidate. You make note of that. I don't have one with you, but there is a space there. They don't really tell you how to do that, but you can write in your candidate. There's also a phone number to call the registrars of voters if you have any questions about doing it. So some of the options for alternative candidates is Dr. Cornel West. Check out his campaign. Claudia De La Cruz. Check out her. Jill Stein. Check out her. So I have to say this, guys, before I leave. We need to defeat capitalism, colonialism, imperialism, stand for socialism, democracy, compassion, and working class unity. We want to say free Palestine, free Haiti, end the death penalty and death by incarceration, free Mumia Abu-Jamal, Leonard Peltier, and all political prisoners. You guys are great. Thank you so much for listening.
Isn't it a wonder that we're so tired after seeing all the issues we have to deal with? It's just amazing. Let's give some more love for Gloria Verdue, please. Michael and Joe are at a table where we have programs for you. If you'd like to come over and get some programs and flyers about today, if you'd like to spread those around. And in the back, Dolores Fisher has voter registration forms. If you are not registered today, pick up a form. If you don't know how to fill one out, approach me after this is all over, and I'll help you understand what's going on with that. So, and we have another volunteer here, and so we really want you to know that it's not too late for you to be involved in this. It's not too late for all. And you know what? You have in a democracy, we can have another person come up to the microphone and say, hey, there's some other people that you can vote for. And nobody gets in trouble for that. You should have heard what she read over at the Queen Beach when she was talking about, hey, Kamala is not perfect and there's some things that she did that were wrong. Well, we want to support that too. But if you're waiting for a candidate that's perfect, you're not going to find one. Are you going to vote for Are you gonna vote for someone who will listen to you? And maybe make some mistakes, but they will listen to you. And, Agent Orange is not gonna listen to anybody. He only wants to do something for himself. Deborah Ramos and I have been doing a lot of stuff against La Migra, the Border Patrol. And they, have put a 30-foot wall up between, on the playas between, Tijuana and San Diego. She participated in a silent march against La Migra. She's been reading poem against La Migra because La Migra, the Border Patrol, has not been listening to community input about the border. And we have families from both sides of the border, the same families. And that place, Friendship Park, is the last place that they have to talk to each other, to touch each other through that fence. And this is my hero. She's my Shiro. She's Deborah Ramos. Before you start.
Okay, can you hear me okay after? No?
Speak
Up
right in.
here, better?
Yeah, that's good.
Better, higher. Is this turned off?
Yeah, it's on.
Is it? Hello out there? Yes, better?
I can hear you, but it's low.
Yeah, okay, well, I'm gonna project as loud and proud as I can. The first poem I'm gonna read is Educate, Agitate, and Organize. And that, Dr. Baba Sahib coined that phrase back in 1942 at a conference, civil rights conference in India. And this has been a call to action in the 60s and 70s, especially in regards to women's rights. Oh, sounds a little bit better. Okay. Educate, empower the oppressed, agitate, in the form of peaceful protests and good trouble is Jim called it. And educate, organize the community into a united front. So this is my educate, agitate, and organize, which I wrote in 2018 for the Women's March. Walls of people, walls of signs, walls of Me Too, walls of women line up to accuse their perpetrator, scream out their America. America's humbled masses march through streets with dogs, babies, and wheelchairs, teaching moments for young girls and their fresh power. Wise crones leading with bloody signs from other wars. Women scarred from abortions, choices, assaults, being silenced, being less, feeling more. Walls of poetry and poets writing clever verses, tapping up polemics. The Mad King walls in brown children, chain link fences separate families of dusty borders that smell like bull rings. Our raised voices and clenched fists pound down the mortar and punch holes through the silence. This next poem is a found poem that I Frankensteined together by taking lines from famous speeches from Red Cloud at Wounded Knee, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Nina Simone, Angela Davis. My name is Revolutionary. Again, written in 2018, all the madness. We are witness to the Mad King and his court of fools and smiling white Uncle Toms. The Mad King, a strange and bitter crop where evil and decay is shut up in his bones. Somewhere I read about the freedom of assembly, not the freedom to use a car as a weapon, peaceful crowd. Somewhere I read about the freedom of speech, not the freedom of racist tweet rants. Somewhere I read about the freedom to seek asylum, not the freedom to take babies from their mothers at the border. There is trouble across this land, home of the privileged and oppressed. Some are faint with hunger, weak from confusion and maddened by despair. But the Mad King's soldiers keep coming. They kill young Black men on cell phones. They drill under rivers and poison the waters of sacred land. They dismantle women's choices.
They burn down mosques and turn over taco trucks. History cannot be deleted. We are standing on ground zero in the struggle for social justice. No dogs, water hoses, or tear gas will turn us around. We will rise with a greater readiness. We will march with a greater determination. Our voices will crack open the sky and acid rain will pour down proud backs, straight and tall. The mad king can't ride our backs unless it's bent. Thank you. This next poem I wrote about a night in 1971 when I joined a group of radical activists and we set the railroad tracks on fire in Del Mar. We wanted to stop the train from bringing weapons of war to the military bases. So this is called Peace Did Not Come. The night before the revolution, we listened to Dylan. His nasal protest poetry washed across the walls in neon flashes. The night before the revolution, we got high and thought peace would come if we stopped the train bringing weapons of war. The night of the revolution, we put on moccasins, war paint, braided our hair into ropes of courage, and began our silent march to the tracks. Torches set the moon on fire. We rejoice in the reflection of our war, a wheezing blaze of railroad tires. 200 deputies came to stop the resistance. We pulled each other into dark alleys, foggy yards, while comrades were taken, Miranda rights violated. But the absence of war was not fulfilled. Soldier boys kept dying in muddy jungles. Napalm babies still ran naked down dirt roads. Young widows still held neatly folded flags on their laps. Mothers twisted their hands in hearts of grief. So we went back to our vans and our camps to get ready for the next underground revolution. We passed the pipes, the love, the hope, and got lost in the neon flashes of Dylan. Okay. This last poem I wrote in 2019, and I performed it at the Writers for Migrant Justice event at Verbatim Bookstore. This was in protest of the violence at the border, where parents are being separated from their children, and we were trying to earn funds to help that situation. So this is called Summering in the Desert. They told us safety is everywhere. So we started walking across the desert, my family of 3. They told us water is everywhere, but we only found tipped plastic jugs emptied onto the dusty sand. They told us asylum waits on the other side. When we reached the river's edge, we listened for the angels to sing us over, but all we heard was the scorching howl of coyote at our heels. Where were the sacred flute players, the divine labyrinth walkers, the drumming goddesses? They were $1,000 island retreats, healing their inner child, becoming mindful, tapping into their true selves. They were learning to chant prayers to protect us and guide us to a better life. They say love is everywhere. God is everywhere. So I looked for stacks of heart-shaped rocks, for heart-shaped fluttering leaves calling us to cross over. When enlightened saviors were drowning in sound baths, my baby was drowning in the river. Mi corazón was drowning in the river. Love abandoned me on the muddy bank. And now I spend every morning giving birth to a broken heart. I spend every night grieving, weeping, regretting, and in every dark life before me, I will spend bathed in tears, knowing and never knowing why love was a ghost that day. Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. So we started pretty late because of some technical difficulties. So I'm going to ask all the poets to please limit your performance to 2 poems so we can get out of here on time. I appreciate your cooperation on that. When we think about 2016, for our next poet, we think about how Dubious Caesar was saying terrible things about Mexico. He was saying Mexico people are negative, negative, negative. Mexico is negative, negative, negative. And that's not my experience of Mexico. My dentist is in Mexico. And I've worked with the Mixtecs people who walked 1,500 miles to sell gum in the street because that cheap NAFTA corn made it impossible for them to sell their corn harvest. And Mexican people are the best people, some of the best people in the world. And so we got invited by Francisco Busto. There's a professor, brilliant professor at Southwestern College, to go down to Sucut, which is the cultural center in Tijuana, and perform. And when I got up to the microphone, I apologized to the audience for what Dubious Caesar was saying about them, and that we wanted these Revolutionary Poets Brigade to become binational and bilingual. And if any of the poets from Mexico, from Tijuana or whatever, wanted to come up, Spanish-speaking poets, to please come up. And 5 people came up to the stage that night. And this lady is one of those 5. She's an amazing poet. Please welcome Pilar Rodriguez Aranda.
Thank you, Jim. When Jim invited me to the event, I said yes, but, well, I said yes before I knew this was for Kamala. I'm here for poetry and democracy. And I will go directly to, I'm going to share 2 poems that I didn't write, or they were written by 2 great American poets. And the first one will maybe explain why I'm not voting for Kamala. I am waiting. I am waiting for my case to come up, and I am waiting for a rebirth of wonder. And I am waiting for someone to really discover America and wail. And I am waiting for the discovery of a new symbolic Western frontier. And I am waiting for the American eagle to really spread its wings and straighten up and fly right. And I am waiting for the age of anxiety to drop dead. And I am waiting for the war to be fought, which will make the world safe for anarchy. And I am waiting for the final withering away of all governments. And I am perpetually awaiting a rebirth of wonder. I am waiting for the second coming, and I am waiting for a religious revival to sweep through the state of Arizona. And I am waiting for the grapes of wrath to be stored. And I am waiting for them to prove that God is really American. And I am waiting to see God on television, piped onto church altars, if only they can find the right channel to tune in on. And I am waiting for the Last Supper to be served again with a strange new appetizer. And I am perpetually awaiting a rebirth of wonder. I am waiting for my number to be called, and I am waiting for the Salvation Army to take over. And I am waiting for the meek to be blessed and inherit the earth without taxes. And I am waiting for forests and animals to reclaim the earth as theirs. And I am waiting for a way to be devised to destroy all nationalisms without killing anybody. And I am waiting for linnets and planets to fall like rain. And I am waiting for lovers and weepers to lie down together again and in a new rebirth of wonder. I am waiting for the great divide to be crossed, and I am anxiously waiting for the secret of eternal life to be discovered by an obscure general practitioner. And I am waiting for the storms of life to be over. And I am waiting to set sail for happiness. And I am waiting for a reconstructed Mayflower to reach America with its picture story and TV rights sold in advance to the natives. And I am waiting for the lost music to sound again in the lost continent in a new rebirth of wonder. I am waiting for the day that
all things clear, and I am awaiting retribution for what America did to Tom Sawyer, and I am waiting for Alice in Wonderland to retransmit to me her total dream of innocence, and I am waiting for Child Roland to come to the final darkest tower, and I am waiting for Aphrodite to grow live arms at a final disarmament conference in a new rebirth of wonder. I am waiting to get some intimations of immortality by recollecting my early childhood, and I am waiting for the green mornings to come again. The youth's dumb green fields come back again, and I am waiting for some strains of unpremeditated art to shake my typewriter, and I am waiting to write the great indelible poem, and I am waiting for the last long, careless rapture, and I am perpetually waiting for the fleeing lovers on the Grecian urn to catch each other up at last and embrace, and I am waiting perpetually and forever a renaissance of wonder. And that's a poem by Lawrence Ferlinghetti. A renaissance of wonder. This 21st century is everything but wonder. And I had a long, not a long, but some words to share, but I just want to say this. I think the United States has, for the longest time, seen its umbilical for too long. You need to see what's going on in the world to really change. When I arrived here in the 80s, I saw that, and it's still the same. In Mexico, for the longest, for 70 years, we had one single party. And then in the 90s, suddenly we had a second option. And a lot of us voted for that supposed second option. And then they tried to make it like the American system, except that the second party was worse than first. So we voted back for the first, right? But luckily now we have a third and a fourth and a fifth party, and they are part of the debates, and we can hear their ideas. So I want you to consider voting for a third party like I am. You might feel that it's a waste, but do meditate your vote. And I think the last poem I'm going to share bears good advice on this regard. It's not an easy poem, but the imagery is amazing, considering it is a political poem. It was written by Adrienne Rich. Both of these poems, by the way, were written in the 50s. It wasn't on purpose, but I guess it's a similar time. It was a time when communism was demonized, and people were put in jail for trying something different. Anyway, I am not just to end. Maybe you don't know, but if any of the third parties like the Greens or the Socialist parties get 5% of the vote, they will be able to get funding for the next elections. I think it's a twisted system. I think in any case, genocidal Reds and genocidal Blues get too much money, and they are too tied to economic, industrial, and militaristic interests. 12 of them. I don't want nothing to hear from them. What kind of times are these? There's a place between two stands of trees where the grass grows uphill, and the old revolutionary road breaks off into shadows, near a meeting house abandoned by the persecuted who disappeared into those shadows. I had walked there picking mushrooms at the edge of dread, but don't be fooled. This isn't a Russian poem. This is not somewhere else, but here. Our country moving closer to its own truth and dread, its own ways of making people disappear. I won't tell you where the place is, the dark mesh of the woods, meeting the unmarked strip of light, ghost-ridden crossroads, leaf mold paradise. I know already who wants to buy it, sell it, make it disappear. And I won't tell you where it is. So why do I tell you anything? Because you still listen. Because in times like these, to have you listen at all, it's necessary to talk about truth. Thank you.
Is everybody getting their money's worth? Me too. We have 5 film clips for you today. We mean this for this to be educational for you and anybody who's going to see this on Zoom, especially if you're undecided or you might be voting for somebody that you shouldn't vote for if you want to move our country forward. And so our next poet is going to have to wait just a little bit longer because I think President Obama would like to share some thoughts with you. And I'm going to ask Alfred if he might put up that film clip on President Obama. And this is some of his speeches. We hope that you see our aim today. We wanted to honor him.
Thank you.
Alfred likes that lady. Alfred picked that film out for us. I asked him, I picked out some films, and I said, well, why don't you pick out a film too? I want to see, there's something about you that needs to be in this event. And he's also going to read some poems to us later on too. So thank you, Alfred, for picking that film out.
You're welcome. He's my hero.
Julio Cesar Aguilar is going to read his poems to us in English and Spanish. Dos regalos, dos lenguas es dos regalos, 2 languages is 2 gifts. And I know that when I go to get cash out of the ATM, it's in English and Spanish. Why don't, if they want to honor Spanish when they're dealing with money, why can't they honor Spanish in everything? This is Julio Cesar Aguilar.
Thank you, Jim. I'm going to read 2 very short poems in Spanish and then in English. Soy el guardián. Soy el guardián de la noche, administrador de los sueños y de las conquistas. Mientras ella duerme, contemplo desde la sombra la obstinación de la luna. De sus entrañas brota mi voz. Sé que me sueña. ¿O es que sus ojos son mi espejo y su nombre mi apellido? De pronto se desliza entre mis hombros y estamos juntos. Me introduzco al sueño respirando de su aliento minutos breves. Somos uno. Permanecemos bajo paréntesis hasta que el balbuceo de la luz mina nuestras paredes. La noche entonces abre mis ojos, baja mis párpados y el verdadero mundo me lanza. I am the guardian. I am the guardian of the night, administrator of dreams and conquests. While night sleeps, I contemplate the moon's stubborn light from the shadows. My voice blossoms forth from her entrails. I know she dreams me. Or are her eyes my mirror and her name my patronymic? Suddenly she slips in behind me, and we are together. I enter the dream inhaling her breath only for a moment. We are one. Parenthetically, we remain until the mumbling light chips away at our walls. Night then opens my eyes, lowers my lids, and throws me out into the real world. El corazón amanece tras un instante y otro ritmando sueños, silbándole al sol la memoria de una leyenda. Alza su propio eco hacia el más alto pino de la noche lenta. Bajo el aliento palpitante de la muerte, renace siempre amaneciendo. The heart. It dawns from one instant to the next to the rhythm of dreams, whistling to the sandy memory of a legend. It raises its own echo toward the tallest pine of the slow-moving night. Beneath the palpitating breath of death, it is always reborn with the breaking dawn. Thank you.
Thank you, Julio. He showed up at a Activist San Diego event on Zoom. He's from Baylor University in Waco, Texas. That's where he is right now. And he found out about the San Diego Tijuana Revolutionary Poets Brigade, and he's been showing up ever since. Thank you for coming. You had the longest commute today, sir. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
We have our second film clip now. And the title of this film clip is She Spanked His A. Harris owns Donald Trump in first debate. Here we go.
Soon. I think it's. Chip. Chip. When you're ready to cut it, just tell me when to cut. These are mental, right? Give it stop. I'll do one for you too.
Wait. All right, I hope you enjoyed that one too. In 1997, I was a counselor. I had a private practice in alcohol and drug recovery in Encinitas. And a client didn't show up, so I went down to the small mall on the main drag in Encinitas. And there was a book on the top of a bunch of other books, and it said Poetic Medicine. I picked that book up, and the first page of the book was a poem called The Sleepless Ones. And it just charmed me. And I was able to buy the book. I started teaching poetry at an art gallery there. And the author of that book, John Fox, is with us right now. John, can you read a poem for us? Please take only 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, I'll take about a minute and a half. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, hi.
Yes.
Say again?
Yes.
Okay, good. Jim, thank you for holding this. I admire you greatly for emphasizing getting out the vote. I admire and appreciate everybody's point of view and what you have put your heart into. And my own personal feeling is that we're at a choice point that doesn't allow us for much, doesn't allow me, let's say, for much room. I feel it's like we can go with horrible, terrible fascist, or we can go with what I feel is hope and possibility. And, you know, I could be wrong, but I'd rather be wrong by choosing hope and possibility. So that's why I'm voting for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. But I'll read a poem that I wrote at the inauguration of Donald Trump in 2017, and I think it still applies for now. And I call this poem in protest and prayer. May light, warm rain fall upon the heads of warriors for justice, those out in the streets marching, who arrive at airports in protest, people headed to bear witness at the borders, making their way to hold vigil on courthouse steps. Let gentle hands smooth the brows of frightened refugees. Ease anyone whose heart is pressed to the margin of the world. I pray that this touch of tenderness hearten the fragile with little recourse in this onslaught of raw power. May the voice of kindness slip past the guard towers of this daily disrespect for being human and confer upon my brother hope in the form of standing by, upon my sister courage in the spirit that leads us forward. I'll repeat the stanza. Part of my work with poetic medicine is to slow down and let us, like I would have invited everybody to read twice. And so I'm going to read this last stanza twice because it's not just about moving along, it's about slowing down and really hearing each other. May a voice of kindness slip past the guard towers of this daily disrespect for being human and confer upon my brother hope in the form of standing by, upon my sister courage in the spirit that leads us forward. So thank you, Jim. And I am from the Institute for Poetic Medicine.
John's the founder and the CEO, and he'll be here in November.
Yeah, oh yeah.
If you've never gone to one of his workshops, you get a handout before the workshop where he's done all this research. He includes poetry in the handouts. He includes his thoughts in the handouts.
Well.
And then he does a really good job facilitating the poets that are there as far as they have input into what's spoken there. And then we write, and then we read our writing. And it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday workshop. I hope I see some of you there. Thank you for helping us.
Can I just say briefly, it's the one that's coming up on November 15th to the 17th. It's titled Cultivating Goodwill and Democracy Through the Healing Help of Poetry and Poem Making. And if you're interested in finding out more, you can contact me at john@poeticmedicine.org. Thanks, Jim, so much.
Right, thank you, John. We have another film clip we'd like to show you, but first, there's a sister friend of mine who I respect deeply. She's a professor at San Diego State. We have performed this one particular poem called Encounter in Reno. She sings, she plays the keyboard, and she makes my poetry better. This is Dolores Fisher.
What's the chord?
So it's very interesting. As I want to speak basically from the heart here in terms of the fact that we need to understand no matter who we vote for, we need to respect each other. I am so tired out from listening to friends and the arguments and the equivocations. And so I am here also today, basically to just simply read a poem for poetry, to ask us to understand the depth of love that went into, even though there was racism, we understand at the beginning of the formation of this country. We know that. There was colonialism. We know that. Nothing can erase that. It's historic fact. But we have all somehow come into this situation hoping that together we can still exist and not be torn apart and not kill each other in the process. For any of you who've seen that film, The New Civil War, you know exactly what I'm talking about. We have got to stop wanting to put our feet on each other's necks or our hands around each other's necks. Unless we leave this country and decide to take up residence elsewhere, we are in this together. And I would like to be able to walk the streets, not fearing like I did as a child living in the suburbs. I would like to walk the streets, not being afraid that someone was going to shoot me because I'm Black, or a woman, or disabled. So in the spirit of that, if you know Claude McKay, and you know we know the masks, I don't have to fill in much with this. It is entitled Dedication. It was from my first book of poetry. These poems are women memories, refracted heterophony, lives that fallaciously have been, are, and seemingly will be consumed by co-opted watchers who dine behind the veil of two-way mirrors in abstract institutions, concrete walls. Women feigning the crush beneath stereotype and myth. Women feigning, sobbing selectively into leeching, blind, corrosive embrace of a too often chimerically noxious, media-saturated, dead weight, labyrinthine, complicitous life. Women who embrace the concept of a prismic shredded chi. Women who laugh, teethy, ice red, full lip, survival slashes across horizons, flat nascent sunrise, opaque warmth. Women with legacy intent. Women who sing soft, fecund, salient lullabies. Women who dance a sapphire blue, tear stride glide across still waters, cool moonlight, mask, continuum. Women who have gone before, women who are, women who will be, women who must not forget our poems, our masks, and our memories.
About some more love for Dolores, please. Thank you, Dolores. Our next film clip, I like the first three words. It says, Trump gets shredded. My new ads right before the debate. So Alfred's going to cue that up for us. And I think you might find this very entertaining.
No.
This feels so good to be with you today. Joe Meloche is an award-winning poet. We are in a group called Steve Survivors where we meet once a month, except for this election. We're not meeting, and after the election we will. And my writing is better because of his input in that group of all Vietnam veterans. He's always a regular at many open mics. Please welcome Joe Meloche.
You know, when Jim asked me to join this group, I said to myself, I'm glad it's not an IQ test because I couldn't get in the door with all the writers in this room. No, that's true, but I went to, I want to say that I'm taking a donation for Palestine. And Jim and I have been doing this for months. And anyone who wants to leave, I don't, donation, 50 cents, $1, they get a free activist poetry anthology with some of the best writers in San Diego. And so I just want to mention that first. I went to a wedding of my godson. And thank God I didn't have to talk politics with my brothers. But I did talk a little bit with my nieces and nephews. And I learned that as a liberal, I'm not allowed to order from Godfather Pizzas, because that's only for conservatives. And, but I am able to order a Starbucks, because if I was a Republican, I wouldn't go there. But when they came to talking about the issues, that's how they voted, which kind of surprised me. Their reasoning was, well, the Democrats are for this, so I'm against it. And they would assume I was against what they were saying because I wasn't a Republican. And so today, as I drove here, I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about social justice, and how my dad and my great uncles and my grandfather really set a foundation for me to be active. But that foundation was developed as I grew older by Gandhi, Dr. King, Dolores Huerta, Cesar Chavez, and how, as they organized their rallies and their marches, they never asked for a protest vote, which made me wonder why, because today, in my lifetime, protest votes are kind of been a common denominator in coming up in every election. And when Dr. King asked people to vote for the Democrats, there were the Dixiecrats. And for people who are too young to know who the Dixiecrats were, they were, thank you, Dolores. You just messed me up, but let me think here a minute. The Dixiecrats were for the brutal they were for the brutal enforcement of segregation. And after Martin Luther King, they evolved into the Reagan Democrats, who evolved into the Tea Party and are now the MAGA Republicans. Yet he wanted us to vote for those who would move forward social justice policies. So I thought about that, and what are, we've all probably heard of 2025, but I'm not talking about that. I'm just talking about what the Republican people who are running for office, congressmen, president, etc., are saying and are promoting. They want to restart our nuclear energy program. And they mean restarting nuclear power plants such as Santa Onofre. They would pass a national law negating marriages, marriage equality, mixed marriages. And that would nullify on this ballot Proposition 2. They would pass a law negating all laws concerning climate change. And that would negate Proposition 3. Providing 4. Or 4, okay. I didn't do well on that. They would pass a law forbidding rent control, which would negate Proposition 5 and 33. And they would reinstate chain gang, which is a way of making inmates work for free and reinstating involuntary servitude. Thus, they negate Proposition 6. They would kickstart the old war on drugs. They would continue the war on women's health. When it comes to Gaza, Trump is in favor of nuclear warfare Netanyahu are buddies, just like Trump and Putin. And Trump wants to drop a nuclear bomb on Mexico. All the cities where there's massive refugee crossing, El Paso, Gonzales, Tijuana. But the Republicans say, well, he's just acting crazy. We'll just drop a bomb. Whether they drop bombs or not is really not the question. They are already wanting to put the military into northern Mexico. It wouldn't be the first time we invaded Mexico. You know, and I wish this issue was a single issue election. And I really feel torn because one of my childhood friends lives in Israel. Another good friend of mine who died, Sam Ahmad, he invited my wife and I to his wedding, and they had to jump through hoops to get us to enter the mosque and get to our places. It was a beautiful wedding, but I have friends on both sides. I don't know really the answer on that question. But, you know, a third party takes effort to form. You have to start at the bottom down. We've had parties start that way. Look at the Black Panthers and all they did in feeding school children, having farmers markets, tutoring young people, educating young people. And they were, I don't know if they had an intention of becoming a party, but they were becoming a party, so much so that Nixon had the CIA and the FBI and local police stations just beat the living stuffings out of them. They did that out of fear, but they weren't the only one. AIM, the American Indian Movement, they were doing the same things and uniting the Native American tribes to form a political movement. And they're still in jail. So we could form a third party, but we have to start down at the very bottom. You got to, and none of the third parties are willing to do that. So, I probably talked to you. I want to read a poem by Lee Young Lee. It just came out. This is dedicated. I'm going to dedicate the reading of this to my wife, Patsy, who died several years ago. Patsy, che amore siempre. Patsy, I'll love you forever. This poem is dedicated to a woman, but it could be anyone who is revolutionary enough to believe in love. The woman you love is singing. Quit. Tell her what you love. Don't tell her what you believe. Don't tell her if God is dead or alive. Don't tell her what's wrong with the world and how to fix it for everyone. The woman you love is singing. Her voice is laying a table in the presence of death. The service shines, irradiating the cardinal points, dividing above from below. Now is not the time to quote scriptures. Now is not the time to repeat manifestos. The woman you love is alive and is singing, making a new world, and all out of what she loves. Don't remain outside her song. Whatever enters her singing leaves again, twice born, and there's only one way in. Speak your love clearly. So what if no one can hear? So what if no one witnesses her making and remaking the world in the image of love? Soon her singing will stop, and all you'll hear is the confusion and the violence of a world untouched by her song. Remaining outside her song has cost you so much. Quit. Tell her, who do you love? Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Joe, did you take the program with you? Thank you. So we have quite a few veterans on the program, and this is my next door neighbor. This is one of my heroes. He has been working with the mental health population as a poetry teacher, as an art teacher for many, many years. Michael Turner Ortega, come on up.
So I come from a song line that's both colonizer and colonized. So there's a lot of intergenerational trauma in my family, but you know what? I choose love. Ebullient anarchy. This blockhead finds missing time free of blame, lives between love and fear daily, ripples with a connection to family and friends, addresses daily issues with humor, finds authenticity deep within my heart. It's not even me, because I'm everything else in different directions with a sense of discovery, knows that we are all each other, taking me away from myself with possibility and an enormous amount of personality. The satisfaction of curiosity, flat out. Love unites, hate separates. Which way to go? Change happens. What do you know? Finds the resources to make a better world without even trying. Bursts out of inadequacy. Running in the rain is not to understand what anything means. As life smiles back, it's all about alone time in gratitude. Never gives up, never gives in, found my voice, identifies needs and goals, speaking out for myself, asks people who have done similar things, then strategizes. I have friends whose interests I have and who do something nice for someone else without anyone knowing it was them. Kind of hypervigilant in a good way.
Thank you, Michael. This is the most important film clip today. This is called Project 2025. When we showed this over at the Space Bar, there was a family that was there and they thanked me for showing this particular film. This is the game plan if Trump wins. This is what our future vice president said, Tim Walsh. If I was a football coach, I want a championship. If I have a playbook, I'm going to use what's in the playbook. And this is the Republican playbook. Alfred, let's go ahead and show this. I wanted to, as we were doing research on these film clips, we found another film clip that shows exactly what's going to happen with some very strong acting that was done by some people. So can we bring up that next film clip, please, Alfred? And it starts with Trump gets pulverized by barrage of attack ads because they're showing how this is going to be carried out in reality. Here we go.
Oh, we already did attack ads. You want disgusting and shameful, Nicole Wallace on?
No. I thought we did shredded. I don't think we done pulverized yet.
I don't have that one queued up. What was it?
Wow, Trump gets pulverized by barrage of attack ads.
I thought we played that one.
We did the shredded. Shredded by ads.
Right. Right. Yeah, show me the clip. Come here, real quick. Which one is it? So it's this one, the speech. He spanked his butt, get shredded by right before debate.
Keep going down.
Is that it?
Pulverized. There it is. Wow, Trump is pulverized. Yeah.
Oh, we did that. See.
New device. We won't show all of this.
This one?
Yeah, that's it.
Shit. Okay. H. What is that book?
Very unsettling, I know. But I think it's really important to show these kind of film clips so we know how to vote. This next poet was the beat poet of San Diego. Then he was the beat poet of California. And then he was the beat poet of the United States. And now he's the international beat poet. And do not offer him decaf. This is Chris Vanoy.
I just have one poem for you guys today. Voices raised in waves that break over bones of mothers crying out, over bones of children crying out for justice, bones crushed under tents, advancing armies with misfortune, red spots on the ground crying out, red spots on the ground crying out for justice, crying out for peace.
I think it's time for our award-winning short film creator to come up. He's built 3 websites for me. He's trained me to do how to do a podcast. And we've interviewed now 18 people on that podcast. It's called Make Good Trouble. He's an amazing person with electronics, and he's got a very talented pen. This is Alfred Williams.
All right, it's good to see everybody today. I just want to mention a few things. Unfortunately, we do live in a country where we have really just 2 viable political parties. And I understand the idea of voting for third-party candidates that represent a change, but this election is going to be desperately close. And any vote that's not directed towards Kamala Harris will result in a greater chance of Donald Trump becoming elected. And so you have to be careful with not letting the perfect become the enemy of the good. And I'm aware of that, that there may be some problems with Kamala Harris, but the Democrats still believe in traditional democracy, and we are not rallying behind a person who has incredible fascist leanings and will take this country into a very dark direction. And unfortunately, it is in this particular circumstance, it is a binary choice. So I just want to make that statement. And I think the thing that Jim has done here is he's made a place where we can all speak together and we can agree and disagree and we can respect one another. And I respect all the other opinions that came before me, but that is my contention. So this poem is about a very different world, the world that we would have if someone like Trump, if Trump were to return to the White House. It's called I'll See You Soon. I'll see you soon when this democracy is over. I'll see you soon when the fascists come for us in October. We will be there together and it will be our last stand and no one will make it out alive, not one woman, not one man. We'll hold hands and sing songs about how things used to be, how fragile our world, how precious our democracy. I'll see you soon when this is all over. I'll see you soon when the fascists come for us in October. And we'll scale the bullet-torn ramparts and there will be blood in the sky, with sadness in our hearts and tears in our eyes. For we held on for as long as we could, but nothing lasts forever. We held on for as long as we could, and we thought ourselves so very clever. I'll see you soon, but you may not recognize me, because the country we love will no longer be free. And you'll say, farewell, my dear friend. And I'll say, let us struggle until the very end, because for you and I, this is how a democracy dies. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well, we've come to our last film clip. If you are a veteran from the United States military, would you stand up now, please? Thank you for your service. A couple of veterans left. This film clip is about how this man dishonored veterans. He called us suckers and losers. And I wanted to show this film because there's a counterpoint of view about that right now. So Alfred's going to cue this up, and then I'll do a final point, and we can call it a day. And I want to thank you for coming.
What an ass. Gets it.
want to mention the San Diego Veterans Coalition right now. And we meet the first Friday of each month, usually on Zoom and in person. And there's so many here in San Diego, so many organizations that are out there to help veterans, and they combine at that meeting and they're trying to help homelessness. They're trying to help alcohol and drug addiction, and a lot of other things like that. So I want to mention the San Diego Veterans Coalitions, and I want to mention Vet Art in Vista, and Steve who's the executive director up there, and it's a 1,500 square foot plant that has an open house the third Friday of the month at 6 o'clock with free food and free ceramics instruction for veterans. And they never charge because they're really good at writing grants. I wanted to end our time together today with a poem from my book, Dancing in Descent. And it's a poem because I am a Navy veteran. I was in the rivers in Vietnam. We as poets, this might not be the way the world is, but we as poets can write about the world that we want to live in. And remember, if you purchase any of my merchandise, all the proceeds from now until next Saturday go to Kamala and Tim's Victory Fund. And this is called Un Mundo de Paz. This poem honors Spanish and English. A peaceful world. Valiente, courage, sonriente, smiling, cuidando, caring, sanando, healing, educando, education, la defensa, advocacy, increencia, believing, amor, love, sueño, dreaming, escuchando, listening, acción, action, perdón, forgiveness, igualdad, equality, respeto, respect. Veo el tiempo, I see time, volando como un águila, flying like an eagle, a través de mi corazón, through my heart. En mi mente, in my mind, yo sueño del tiempo, I dream of the time cuando la águila voladora, when the flying eagle canta canciones del espíritu de paz, sings spirit of peace. Cuando todos en el círculo, when all in the circle, de la madre tierra cantan, of Mother Earth sing, del corazón de mi canción de paz, the heart of my song of peace. In mi mente, in my mind, in mi mente, in my mind, in mi sana mente, in my healing mind, in mi mente sonriente, in my smiling mind, in mi mente de paz, in my peaceful mind, in mi mente con amor danzante, in my dancing with love mind. Pone el mundo de paz, lay the peaceful world, a un sitio de esperanza, a place of hope. That's it for us today. We'll see you at the polls. Thank you for coming. Thank you, Alfred, for doing this. And we're all done. Take care.